In this video, we're going to be going over the downsides or the negatives to two of Canada's most popular investment brokers in Questrade and Wealthsimple Trade. Whether you're already investing with these platforms or if you're just a beginner that's doing your research, this is definitely a video that you're going to want to stick around for. Hey guys, and welcome back to another video on the channel. If you're new here, my name is Brandon. As always, if you're a beginner to the stock market in Canada and you're looking for some extra help, you can check out our Investing Academy, which is that first link down in the description below. But as the title of this video states, we are going to be diving today into the negatives or the cons or the things to be aware about with the platforms Questrade and Wealthsimple Trade. And these, by the way, guys, are very likely the two most popular platforms that you'll come across in Canada. If you're a do-it-yourself investor, if you're looking to manage your own portfolio through your computer, through your mobile phone, these are very likely the ones that you'll land on. And I want to start this video off with a very clear disclaimer. I am a very huge advocate of both Questrade and Wealthsimple Trade. I think that they are doing phenomenal things. It's a phenomenal tool to allow Canadians to go out and invest on their own, and overall, I have nothing bad to say about these two platforms. I'm very grateful for them. And if Questrade, you're watching this, Wealthsimple, you're watching this, I love you guys. It's an amazing, amazing platform, and I've advocated on the channel for both. That said, whenever you're using a product, whenever you're using a service, or you're being a consumer, it is important to look at both sides of the coin, to look at the downsides. And that's what we're going to be highlighting in today's video. So I just want to make that very, very clear. If you do stick around to the end of the video, I will share with you which platform I use and the reasons behind that. But the sequence of what we're going to be doing here is we'll start with Questrade, we'll move to Wealthsimple, and then we're going to be going over a summary. So if you enjoy, if you find this video helpful, feel free to give this one a thumbs up. But the first negative that we need to talk about when it comes to Questrade is, of course, their commission structure. And relative to Wealthsimple Trade, which is, let me just time out for a second. If you haven't ever heard of these platforms, if you're extremely new, I'd suggest checking out the two videos that I've done on both of them, which is an amazing overview. It'll give you really the rundown on how these different platforms work, really give you a great understanding. You could go watch those and come back to this video, or watch this one first. But the first thing that we will be talking about is the commission structure. And Questrade, of course, charges a $4.95 commission. It can get as high as $9.99. So let's call it $5 to $10, depending on how many shares you're buying, versus Wealthsimple being completely free, which is an obvious negative towards Questrade. And the commission, very simply, as I'm sure many of us know, when you buy a stock, when you sell a stock, the broker often gets a cut. And in Questrade's case, you're paying $5 to buy a stock and $5 to sell a stock. If you do actually get up to some higher numbers of shares, like if you're buying either large quantities of stock, so this may be the case if you're buying a stock that trades for a lower price, you may find yourself buying more shares. You could reach that upper limit of $10. And whether you're paying $5, whether you're paying $10, that is absolutely a negative when compared to the commission-free platform in Wealthsimple Trade. One of their big selling points, as we'll touch on later, is they do not charge any fees in terms of commissions. You don't pay any commissions to buy and sell with Wealthsimple Trade. With Questrade, you're paying $5 to $10. And it is worth noting, if you're buying a US stock, so a US investment, those commissions are in USD. So you'd be paying $5 USD on a US stock, $5 Canadian on a Canadian stock. So that is an important one to know. And of course, when you are just starting out, commissions are absolutely something to factor in. If you're coming to me and you said, I have $500,000 and I want to buy some shares, $5, $10 is not the end of the world. It really isn't. But if you're starting out with $100, if you're starting out with $50 for all that matter, for a young investor or for somebody that's just getting started, paying the $5 to $10 commission can absolutely eat away at your returns, which does give Wealthsimple Trade a bit of the edge in the commission side of things. The next negative to touch on with Questrade, this is especially one that traders will want to be aware about. This is what's called ECN fees, or electronic communication network fees. And what this is, quite simply, is a fee that gets charged when you purchase stocks on the less common exchanges. And to give an example, If you wanted to go out and buy Walmart, one of the big blue chip companies that trades in large quantities, tons of volume every single day, a big blue chip stock in Walmart or Coca-Cola or Apple stock, those trade on major exchanges such as the New York Stock Exchange, such as the NASDAQ, or even the TSX, the Toronto Stock Exchange for Canadian companies. When you dive into the smaller exchanges, take an example for the TSX Venture, this is where these fees can apply. And you'll commonly come across these when you're dealing with penny stocks. For the most part, if you're dealing with penny stocks, a lot of them do trade on these smaller exchanges. They don't meet the requirements, first of all, to trade on the New York Stock Exchange. So that's why you have these smaller, less known exchanges. The ECN fees that you're looking at displayed up on the screen, as you can see, they do vary depending on the certain requirements, depending on the certain exchange. And although they do look relatively small in terms of the per share fee that you're being charged, you do have to keep in mind that when you're buying penny stocks or smaller companies, you do often buy large quantities of shares. So this really can add up. And this is, of course, on top of the commission. So it's something to be more aware about. And it's something that Questrade has become more transparent about as people were starting to complain more and more. If you did look on the threads online, the Reddit posts, one of the major things that people used to talk about was they were getting hit with ECN fees without being aware about it. Now it's all transparent. You can find all of this on their website to see exactly what you're looking at. Of course, when you go ahead and place a trade, it will show you before the trade is executed the exact cost you're going to be paying, just as a little bit of a summary. But again, this is more or less a negative for traders, somebody who is looking to actively buy and sell smaller cap companies, the less common securities. If you are going to be sticking to the big blue chip stocks, ones that trade on normal exchanges, let's call it, the ones that you'd kind of hear about for a normal long-term investor, this shouldn't be much of an issue, but it is something worth mentioning. The next thing that is of utmost importance to mention, and this isn't just regarding Questrade specifically, this is what you come across with most brokerages, this is the currency exchange fee. The fee that they charge for you to take your Canadian dollars, in most cases this is what you'd be doing, and converting them to US dollars to go out and buy US stocks. Because let's keep in mind, as a Canadian, if you want to go out and buy shares of Coca-Cola or Disney, which trades in the US in US dollars, what you're technically doing is you're taking your Canadian dollars, you're converting it, which Questrade does for you, to US dollars to then go out and buy those shares. Now, the exchange fee that you're looking at, it typically runs between 1.5 to 2%. And in most cases, I think the benchmark to look for is a 2% conversion fee. The reason I say that is that it does vary. You take, for example, on their Quest Wealth portfolios, which is one of their new managed products, kind of like a robo-advisor service where they'll actually suggest and build a portfolio for you. They state here that it is a 1% fee that they mark up to make that conversion. Now, going as far as the self-directed route where you're managing your own account, the conversion fee has historically been 2%. I've also seen it at points where it's at 1.5%. So let's call it in that 1.5 to 2% range for the do-it-yourself portfolios. That's what I think is very, very acceptable range to be looking at. And as I just mentioned, this is not just specific to Questrade. This is very standard across all brokerages. You can, of course, go out and open up a separate US dollar account for trading. You can do that with, let's say, TD Bank. They'll do that for you. But with most of these investment brokerages, it's very common to pay a conversion fee. And in my opinion, that's just the cost of what comes with investing in US stocks. There are ways to avoid it, which could be a topic for another video. But in my honest and humble opinion, it's not something that I worry about. It's just kind of, I think of it very much like the commission. It's a cost of doing business. And if you want to go out and buy a really good US stock, you can often make your money back, but they do charge the conversion fee for that. Now, something to point out about Questrade, which makes them very unique, and this is going to come back when we talk about Wealthsimple Trade. This is a very important point of the video. In fact, probably, in my opinion, one of the most important overlooked points is that Questrade is actually very unique in that they allow you to hold US dollars in your Questrade account. And it says here, before Questrade introduced the option to choose how your currency is settled, no other institution in the industry allowed investors to hold US cash in a registered account. cash was always settled in Canadian dollars, meaning any trade in the US market would trigger a currency conversion. One of the great features of Questrade's registered accounts, including RRSPs and TFSAs, is being able to hold both US dollars and Canadian dollars. This means you can trade in markets on both sides of the border without paying a conversion fee every time you trade. And this is a subtle but massive benefit to investing with Questrade. For example, if you had a bunch of Canadian dollars, you bought a US stock, you do pay the conversion, you'd pay the 2% conversion up front. If you went to sell that stock, your funds would then settle in US dollars, and you would then be holding US dollars in your Questrade account. If you wanted to then go take that money and buy another US stock, you wouldn't have to make another conversion. So think of it as a one-time conversion fee, which of course goes both ways, but this includes US dividends. And again, I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself, but this is one of the major negatives to Wealthsimple Trade that we'll cover soon. The next thing that I think is worth pointing out with Questrade, and some may put more weight on this than others, but they have got a decent amount of negative reviews, bad press amongst the online forums, as I kind of mentioned earlier. A lot of people have had negative experiences, again with ECN fees, as well as with their customer service. And you of course don't like to see that, but that happens with any product out there. You will have negative reviews, you'll have the naysayers. And what I think is very important to make clear is that in most cases, the people leaving these bad reviews that have bad experiences are traders. They're people that are trying to trade rather than invest, in which Questrade is probably not the best platform for you. If you're looking to be a trader, like a day trader or somebody very involved, you could look into a platform completely separate than these, such as interactive brokers. So as an investor, I personally wouldn't put too much emphasis on the negative comments that you read online, knowing that they're coming from a different style of investor. In fact, they're coming from traders in almost all case scenarios. But it is worth mentioning, of course, there are some negative reviews out there from a small percentage of people, as well customer service. Customer service is hit or miss with a lot of companies, especially going through a crazy time as of filming this video with COVID. Everybody's backed up. It's a tough one for companies across the board. So it's expected to have a slower down in customer service, but those would kind of be the more press related negative things that you'd hear on the internet. The final point that I'd like to mention with Questrade, which again is something to be aware about, but really not an issue, but still you need to be aware about it, is that they can charge you what's called an inactivity fee. And Questrade can charge $24.95, just shy of $25 Canadian per quarter if you're not doing anything in your account. So if you're essentially using it as a savings account, you're not making trades, you're not adding money in. The whole point of this account is that you're investing in it. And if you're inactive, if you just let it sit, well, you absolutely can be hit with a fee. Now, let's make something very clear. This fee is extremely easy to bypass with a number of ways to do it. I'll actually include this link down below the video if you'd like to check it out. But for example, if you place one trade per quarter, you'll waive the fee. If you add money to your portfolio, such as a deposit of $150 or more, you'll waive that fee. If you maintain total equity across all of your accounts of $1,000 or more, this includes Quest Wealth, both accounts, you waive the fee. And a good one for our younger viewers is good news. If you're 25 or younger, you are exempt from the inactivity fee. So this is not something that I think many people will come across. It is something to be aware. And of course, to finish off this segment on Questrade, one of the negatives, if you are starting out with a smaller amount of money, is they do require a minimum balance, or a minimum deposit, I should say, of $1,000 Canadian to start actively trading. You can open up an account, you can start with less, but if you want to have access to trading, they do require that $1,000 minimum. Now, in moving to the second half of this video, we'll shift the focus over to Wealthsimple Trade, which is by far the closest competitor to Questrade. It's actually a relatively new service. It's been gaining a ton of steam based on the commission-free trading style. It's actually very unique in that it's the only commission-free platform in Canada as we speak. But despite that being a great selling point, there are some negatives that I'd like to talk about. Starting, of course, I'll just get this one out of the way because it may impact some people more than others. As of today, Wealthsimple Trade is only available on a mobile app. So it's a mobile platform. You can't go onto your computer, your PC, or your desktop or Mac, log on through the website and access your portfolio. Everything has to be done through your cell phone, through your iPad. It's just a mobile. It was built for mobile. This may be an issue for some. I know for a lot of younger viewers, I know for a lot of, let's say, millennials, people who are more in touch with their technology and their phones, this is actually, maybe some may see it as a benefit, but there is definitely a demographic out there who likes to have the availability to use it on their computer. They may not be as active on their phones. I know myself, although younger, I love having the ability to go onto my computer, and I actually do most of my trades from the computer. My laptop versus my phone, it's not the biggest deal, it's not the end of the world, but it is definitely worth mentioning that Wealthsimple Trade is currently only a mobile platform. Now, the next one, which I think is actually very important, and I'm surprised why this is the case, but not all securities are available on Wealthsimple Trade. And I've gotten questions in my comment section before saying, why can't I buy stocks like Disney on Wealthsimple Trade, which is one of the world's most popular companies? Well, not all stocks are available, and the selection is slimmer, at least in relation to Questrade, which does give you a pretty wide suite, a big variety of stocks. You are going to be looking at a slimmer selection with Wealthsimple Trade, especially if you're looking for some more unique companies like some ADRs or some over-the-counter companies. You can expect a much smaller pool with Questrade, with Wealthsimple Trade, and I mean Disney to me is a pretty clear example. If you wanted to buy shares of Disney, which is an awesome stock for most, you would not be able to currently do that on Wealthsimple Trade. So it's important to look at which securities are eligible for that platform, which you can do through their website. The next negative that I think is worth mentioning with Wealthsimple Trade is they do not have as wide of a variety of account types to use. And it wasn't actually too long ago that they were only offering taxable accounts. They weren't offering the TFSA, they weren't offering the RRSP, but it was a major advancement that they did allow that. So you can open up two of the most popular accounts, probably the most widely used accounts in the tax-free savings account and the RRSP, which is very likely what a lot of beginners will be getting started with. But if you did want to use, let's say, a LIRA, so a locked-in retirement account, these are accounts that you may come across with a pension fund, or you may have some locked-in money that you aren't able to access or touch, I should say, pull out. With Questrade, you can use those. You do have pretty much any account you need. With Wealthsimple Trade, again, the selection is a little bit slimmer, so we can call it less variety. Depending on your specific needs and why you're investing, what accounts you plan to use, this may be a bit negative, this may not, but it's definitely something worth mentioning. Next up, which is a very short and brief one to mention, because I'm sure they're always working on it, and again, as a new platform, they're constantly going to be improving. There are known to be some glitches with the app in terms of the metrics not showing properly. We've had a student of ours actually talk about their account balance was actually showing some, it was showing that a bunch of money was missing, and they didn't lose your money. These are all safe platforms. It was simply just a user interface glitch that came across, and we can keep this one as short as that. With a mobile app, they're constantly making updates, they're constantly improving the development, but there are known to be some glitches. Again, your money's not going to get lost with them, but it may spook you a little bit if you look and something doesn't look as it seems. The next up is one that may impact a dividend investor, and that is that Wealthsimple Trade does not support DRIPs. So dividend reinvestment programs or dividend reinvestment plans, which is essentially the option to take your dividends that you receive from a stock and go in and buy some more shares of that exact same stock. With Questrade, with a lot of other brokers, you have that availability. With Wealthsimple Trade, they do not offer that service. So you're just going to receive your dividends into cash, and you can make the decision where you want to deploy that. That's actually what I do for the most part, so it's not the worst. But I do know that if you were planning to take the dividend investing route, this may have been a feature that you may have been looking forward to. And just to make clear, as of currently, they do not support dividend reinvestment programs. Now, in wrapping up this segment on Wealthsimple Trade, before we get into a little conclusion, a little summary, and I share with you which platform I prefer, I left this point for last for a very good reason, because to me, this is the most crucial component of this video here today. Wealthsimple Trade does not allow investors to hold US dollars on the platform. And this is quite different to Questrade, who does. To clarify, there is still a conversion fee. And with Wealthsimple, you're looking at the 1.5% conversion fee. So that's to convert your money back and forth between currencies. But once you've converted your money, you cannot hold US dollars in the account. And where this becomes tricky is, as a Canadian, let's assume you wanted to go buy shares of Coca-Cola, which is an American stock. You could pay your conversion fee, all is good, you pay the 1.5, but the dividends that you receive from Coca-Cola, some stocks pay dividends, some don't, but many US stocks that pay US dividends, you can't hold those dividends in cash. And again, you have no option for drips. You're receiving that cash. Each of those dividends is subject to a conversion fee because it's a Canadian dollar account. So you're paying 1.5% to make the purchase. And each dividend, if you're planning to invest for the long term and build a good long-term portfolio, every quarter you receive a US dividend, you're going to get tacked with the conversion fee. So although it does seem flashy in the sense that, yeah, there's no commission up front, you don't pay $5 up front, $5 to $10 in commissions, you are getting hit with a conversion fee on those dividends. So you can see how impactful that would be when you're able to extend out. If you're planning on investing for the long term and you want to build a portfolio with good balance between the Canadian market and US market, your Canadian dividends are going to be just fine, but anytime you make a US investment, you are getting hit in the back door with the 1.5% conversion fee. And that's why, to summarize my overall thoughts on both platforms and share with you, I guess, now which I prefer, I do lean heavier. If someone was coming to me saying, I want to build a real portfolio for my future, I want to invest on my own, I want to do it the right way, I almost in all cases do lean heavier towards Questrade. It's actually the platform that I use. It's what I've been using because I'd rather pay the $5 commission up front and have the ability to hold US dollars in the account than to either avoid the US market, which is what a lot of Wealthsimple Trade users do, or get hit on those conversions on all my dividends going forward. So it's almost looking at it like an upfront cost versus an ongoing cost. That's a decision for you to use. I know a lot of investors will opt to go with Wealthsimple Trade and say, hey, I only want to invest in the Canadian market. And if that's the case, Wealthsimple Trade can be a phenomenal option for that because you're not paying the conversion fee and you truly are getting the commission-free platform. You're not paying a commission, you're not paying any conversion fees. So for a strictly Canadian investor, that could be a phenomenal option. But if you're planning on building a balanced portfolio with a bit of exposure to both by buying individual stocks directly, you can get hit with some fees on the conversion side of things. One of the benefits that I didn't mention with Wealthsimple Trade is that there are no account minimums. Like, you don't have to start with Questrade like $1,000. So I would definitely say that this platform is more catered for people that are just starting out with smaller amounts of money. It's a great platform to kind of dip your toes to get more involved with the stock market. But if you're looking to actually build a portfolio for your future, if you're looking to kind of take investing on and do it more seriously, you plan on actually doing something for the long term, I do in many cases resort to Questrade. And as I touched on at the top of this video, and I'll take a moment to reinforce this now because this is very important to everybody out there that's watching, this is not a video to bash either of these platforms. I am an advocate of both of these platforms. If you came to me and said you were going to invest with either of them, I would give you 2 thumbs up. I would give you many thumbs up if I could, because you're doing the right thing by going out and learning the stock market, learning to invest. I think that they're both phenomenal choices. This is just a video to bring light to these platforms so that you can make the most well-rounded decision. And really, I'm just sharing with you guys my opinion on which one I prefer and the downsides that I see. Someone else may have another opinion and they may value certain other areas that I don't. So all this video is just my opinion on the downsides. But overall, very, very amazing platforms. I love that we have the option to invest in them. I plan to invest with Questrade personally going forward. My brother's on Wealthsimple Trade. A ton of my friends are on Wealthsimple Trade. These are 2 amazing options. And the most important part is that if you're in the phase where you're looking to get started, Factor this all in. Go watch my other 2 videos where we talk about the pros and the overviews. Just get a full picture and then choose whichever one sounds best for you. But at least by now, if you've made it to this far in the video, you should have an overall idea of the goods, the bads, and what you can expect. If you guys enjoyed this video and you found it helpful, you can feel free to give this a thumbs up. That is really the best way to show your support for this video, for this channel, if you did appreciate it. If it's your first time viewing us here on the channel, I'd suggest that you subscribe because we post weekly videos on the stock market and we focus for the stock market for Canadians. You can also hit the bell for notifications so that when I do make a post, you'll be aware of it. Of course, we do also have our Investing Academy. If you found this video informational and you feel you can learn more from me, we have a training program that takes a complete beginner through the entire process. We'll help you learn the terms. We'll help you learn the different strategies. We'll talk about dividends and ETFs. We'll talk about how to set up your accounts and how to get your platforms up and running most effectively. We show you how to purchase your first investments. We literally walk you through the entire process, and you get to join our community of hundreds of other investors who have done that. Again, that is that first link down below. It's called our Investing Academy. But as always, I thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next